The autopsy results in the Celeste Rivas murder case have been released, and now there is a bombshell from today's preliminary hearing that has taken this case to an entirely different level. Sidora has dropped a shocking abuse claim against Ralph Pittman right after losing custody of her children. And I have a serious question about the timing. And Kendrick Lamar may be about to answer Drake's Iceman with something called Fireman. It's Thursday. I'm your host. Welcome back to KrowndByKenzie, your destination for celebrity tea and Hollywood entertainment. Let's get into it after the intro. Today is 1 year since the alleged murder. Now, before I get into anything else, I need to point out something that stopped me in my tracks when I read it this morning. Today is April 23rd, 2026. Prosecutors allege that David murdered Celeste Rivas Hernandez on April 23rd, 2025. Exactly 1 year ago today. And here's what makes that even more chilling. On that same day, April 23rd, 2025, David was on TikTok posting videos of himself dancing and looking carefree, promoting his debut album, Wither, energetic, smiling, no indication of anything. His album dropped 2 days later. Prosecutors say that on that same day he was dancing for TikTok, he had invited Celeste to his Hollywood Hills home and she was never seen or heard from again. Now, 1 year later to the day, he is sitting in a jail cell facing first-degree murder charges. Let that land. The Los Angeles County Medical Examiner ruled Celeste's cause of death as multiple penetrating injuries with unspecified objects. Her manner of death has been officially classified as homicide. I want to acknowledge something important here. The medical examiner determined Celeste's cause of death and manner of death all the way back on December 9th of last year. Her family has spent months knowing their daughter was murdered but not knowing how she died because the LAPD placed a court ordered security hold on the autopsy to protect the investigation. That hold was only lifted this week after David was arrested and charged. The chief medical examiner, Dr. Ode Upco, released a statement saying, after several months, I am grateful this information can now be released, not only to the public, but also to the grieving family enduring loss. Now, it is unfathomable they have had to wait this long to learn what happened to their daughter. Celeste's family said through their attorney that they are absolutely devastated by the findings and described the details as horrible and gruesome. Her parents, Jesus and Mercedes, will not attend today's hearing. They asked for privacy as they process this information. A mother and a father just learned exactly how their 14-year-old daughter died. Please hold that. Now, the autopsy details two specific penetrating wounds to Celeste's torso. The first wound was on her upper abdomen, 3/4 of an inch in length and 1.5 inches deep, and it penetrated her liver. The second wound was on her left chest, 9/16 of an inch in length and 2 inches deep, and it penetrated one of her left intercostal spaces, the space between the ribs, with disruption of the adjacent rib surfaces. Two wounds, one to the abdomen through the liver, one between the ribs and to the chest. Now, here is where it gets legally critical. The medical examiner used the phrase may represent sharp force injuries. That word may is going to be one of the most important words in this entire trial. The defense is going to fight that word with everything they have. May represent is not a definitive conclusion, and the defense team of Blair Burke, Marilyn Bernarski, and Regina Peter are among the best in the business. They will poke at that language relentlessly. Prosecutors allege David used a sharp instrument to kill Celeste. They allege he then waited approximately 2 weeks before dismembering her body and placing her remains in a black body bag and a black trash bag inside the front trunk of his Tesla. Her remains sat in that car through the summer heat for 4 months. By the time the autopsy was conducted, her body weighed just 71 pounds. Her head was partially skeletonized. Her left eye was absent. The report also notes multiple superficial linear abrasions on her right hand, and the medical examiner did not specify whether these could be defensive wounds. That is another detail the prosecution and the defense will battle over at trial. The autopsy confirmed that Celeste's left right finger and left pinky finger were amputated. Multiple reports indicate that Celeste had a tattoo on her left hand bearing the name David. Her right pointer finger, which had a tattoo reading shh, was intact. So the targeted amputation was not about preventing identification because her tattooed right finger was still there. The question of why those specific fingers, it matters. And it is a question this trial, I'm sure, is going to have to answer. Now, the toxicology results are going to be significant issues at this trial. The autopsy report shows a presumptive positive for methamphetamine and MDMA in Celeste's system. However, a second screening showed methamphetamine was inconclusive and MDMA was not detected. Alcohol may have been present but did not contribute to her death. The defense will use this. The prosecutors will be ready to counter the narrative and keep the focus on what actually happened to this child. Breaking news. Now, I need to get to what just happened at today's preliminary hearing because this case just got even more serious. According to TMZ, prosecutors have now revealed during today's hearing that when law enforcement went through David's phone, they found a significant amount of child pornography. It is currently unclear whether any of the material on his phone featured Celeste. I want to be very precise with how I present this because this is developing information from today's hearing. This information is coming from TMZ's coverage of the hearing. The cameras were barred from today's proceedings, so details are still emerging. But here is why this matters beyond the obvious. David is already charged with continuous sexual acts on a minor and lewd and lascivious acts with a child under 14 in connection with Celeste specifically. Prosecutors allege the sexual abuse of Celeste began when she was 13 years old and continued through her 14th birthday. If prosecutors can establish a pattern of behavior involving child pornography on his device, regardless of whether Celeste is featured, that paints a picture for a jury about who this person allegedly is and what his alleged intentions were toward children. This is an ongoing hearing and more details will emerge. I will bring them to you as they come in. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at KrowndByKenzie for real-time updates as this story develops today. One more update on David before I give you my full take. Per TMZ, David is currently being held in a segregated single cell at a Los Angeles County facility. He is only allowed to shower every other day. He can only make phone calls on days he is allowed to shower. He gets just 3 hours of recreation time per week with no contact with other inmates. He has no access to a television. He cannot have visitors. He has no money on his books, and one law enforcement source described the facility as, and I'm quoting, dirty and it smells. 1 week ago, this man was living in a $15,000 a month Hollywood Hills rental near Chateau Marmont on Sunset Boulevard. Now, he cannot even make a phone call unless it's shower day. I want to say something directly, okay? Celeste was 14 years old. She had a family that loved her desperately. She was reported missing 3 times and nobody connected publicly until her body was found in the trunk of a car. The autopsy was completed in December and her parents had to wait months to know what happened to their child. Today is the 1 year anniversary of the day prosecutors say she was murdered. Whatever the toxicology says, whatever the defense argues about the word may, Whatever the outcome of this trial, a 14-year-old child is gone. And the people who failed to protect her along the way, the system, the people around David who knew something was wrong, that accountability needs to extend beyond this one case. David has pleaded not guilty. His attorneys maintain the evidence will clear him. This trial is coming, and I will be here covering every single development. Justice for Celeste. Okay, I have to take a breath after that one. Let me move to something that is still serious, but in a very different way. Because the Sidora and Ralph Pittman divorce just dropped a bombshell, and I have some very specific thoughts about the timing of everything. Real Housewives of Atlanta star Sidora has filed new court documents in her divorce battle against Ralph Pittman, and she has included what she is calling a bombshell abuse claim. Now, according to court documents obtained by TMZ, Drew submitted evidence asking the judge to reconsider the filing that ordered her to vacate the home by May 31st and awarded Ralph primary custody of their children. As part of that filing, Drew told the court she had previously submitted a video in which Ralph could be heard severely beating their son. She says Ralph admitted to the beating in 2024, but then denied it at the hearing in March 2026. Ralph has completely denied this claim. His side told TMZ he did not hit his son. Here's the full picture for anyone who needs it. Drew and Ralph both filed for divorce in March 2023. They've been living in the same house for over 3 years. Ralph in the basement, Drew upstairs. A judge recently awarded Ralph primary physical custody of their children after it was revealed the kids had excessive absences from school while in Drew's care. That same ruling ordered Drew to vacate the home by May 31st. Drew told the court she does not have the financial resources to move. Court documents then show she earns approximately $12,000 a month, while Ralph earns roughly $71,000 a month. She said she and her oldest son will be homeless if the ruling is not reversed. Now, here's how I feel about it. If Drew had video evidence of Ralph severely beating their son as far back as 2024, why is this beating presented now as part of the motion to stay in the home? Why was this not the true centerpiece of the custody hearing she just lost? The timing of this filing coming directly after losing primary custody and being ordered out raises serious questions. Now, I'm not saying the claim is not true, okay? Abuse claim must always be taken seriously, but the court is going to look at this the same way I am and ask why this was not raised before. And then there's what we saw on the recent episode of Real Housewives of Atlanta. Drew's relationship with a man named Black has been a storyline this season. Watching that scene, it seemed very clear that Black was making it known they are currently in a relationship or doing something else. But Drew kept playing it down and trying to make it seem like they are just friends. That disconnect to me was very loud. Here's the bigger question I want to pose, right? Since Drew and Ralph first appeared on Real Housewives, the audience assumed, based on how Ralph presented himself, that he was the manipulator and the gaslighter in the marriage. But the way Drew is starting to show her true colors, the timing of these claims, the pattern of accusations, the way she handled that scene with Black, it leads me to ask, could it have been Drew this whole time? Was she truly playing victim while being the one pulling the strings? Now, I'm not here to convict anyone. I'm asking the questions the show has been dancing around for 3 seasons. Drop your thoughts below and make sure you're following me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok at KrowndByKenzie. After those 2 heavy stories, let us end on something with a little more energy to it. Because the Drake versus Kendrick chapter may not be over. And if these rumors are real, this summer is about to be one for the history books. Y'all thought they not like us with something? If this is true, let's see what's about to happen. The rumor yesterday we talked about Drake's Iceman album dropping May 15th. The ice blocks, the pixies, the blowtorches, the streamer cracking it open in Toronto. Well, multiple outlets have now reported an unconfirmed rumor that Kendrick Lamar is working on a project called Fireman with a rumored release date of May 15th, the same exact date as Drake's Iceman. I want to be crystal clear. This has not been confirmed. I checked Kendrick's official Twitter account personally. Nothing has been posted. No announcement from his team. Nothing from PG Lane. This is a rumor, and I'm presenting it exactly as that. But here is what has the entire internet losing their minds. An account called Daily Nod on Twitter posted an alleged DM where someone asked Kendrick if he had seen Drake's Iceman rollout, and Drake allegedly responded, "It's always been ice." Y'all know what I'm saying, F ice. I cannot verify that DM. It could be completely fabricated, but whether it is real or not, that response was perfectly on brand for Kendrick Lamar that the internet has run with regardless. Iceman versus Fireman, Ice versus Fire, Drake versus Kendrick, same release date. If this is real, that is a big deal, and we're about to witness one of the greatest moments again in hip hop history. But here's my read. Kendrick does not need to do anything. He already won. The pop out, the Super Bowl, the Grammys, his victory lap was complete. But Kendrick has moved with intention. Everything he does is deliberate. If he has something called Fireman, that is not accident. That is chess. And here's a question worth asking. Did Drake know this was coming when he announced May 15th? Or did Kendrick react to Drake's date with a counter drop? Either way, May 15th is officially the most important day in hip hop this year. And I'll be here for every development. Again, follow me on all social media platforms at KrowndByKenzie because when Kendrick confirms or denies this, that is where I will be reacting first. Three stories today. The Celeste autopsy confirmed she was stabbed twice. Today's hearing revealed prosecutors found child pornography on David's phone. And today marks exactly 1 year since Dave prosecutors say she was killed. Drew Sidora dropped an abuse claim against Ralph right after losing custody and being ordered out. And the questions about the timing are real. And Kendrick Lamar may be about to respond to Drake's Fireman on May 15th, but that's unconfirmed, but we'll be watching closely. This is KrowndByKenzie. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell if you want more. Share with someone who needs to know. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And again, follow me on all social media platforms. See you later. Bye.